Today we're going to start Lamed Gimel, Lamed Beis. See the two dots there? Machzer Lo Yes Avidasi. Thank Hashem we're able to learn Torah every day. Most of our learning, we should have the Beis Hamikdash immediately. So we said that if someone takes a vow that he won't give benefit to his friend, so Machzer Lo Yes Avidasi is still allowed to return a lost object that his friend lost. So Reuven is the finder, he's the returner, and Shimon is the one that lost the object. And Reuven, we said, is allowed to return the object to Shimon, even though Reuven is not allowed to give any benefit to Shimon, because what he's giving him is not benefit from himself, he's just giving him Shimon's own object. Shimon's not allowed to receive benefit from Reuven, but don't worry about it, because he's just returning an object that belonged to Shimon anyway. Well, there's a machlekes between Rabami and Rabasi. One of them says, here we don't know who says what. That's what it says, chadam or chadamar. We know that there's a machlekes, we don't know who says what. These are students of Rabbi Yochanan, Rabami and Rabasi. So one says that the case is that Reuven, who's the finder, is not allowed to give Shimon benefit. And don't worry about it, he's still allowed to return the lost object because he's not giving him anything from himself, he's just giving what belongs to Shimon. But let's say it was the opposite. Let's say Shimon was not allowed to give any benefit to Reuven. Yeah, it's the other way. The loser, not a loser, he just lost an item. He lost, he took a vow that he can't give, that he's not going to give Reuven any benefit. So what type of benefit would he give Reuven? Reuven's returning an object that he lost. So look at this. Reuven is not allowed to return it to him because he gets a benefit by returning a lost object to him. What a benefit does he get? The kamahani le pruta de Rabbi Yosef. Benefit that he gets is nicknamed pruta de Rabbi Yosef. Pruta de Rabbi Yosef is a Gemara in Baba Kama, in Kainas, where over there it discusses if the person that's involved in returning the lost object, is he considered a shemer chinam or a shemer sachar? Shemer chinam means an unpaid watchman. Shemer sachar is a paid watchman. The difference between if he's a shemer chinam and shemer sachar is his responsibility level. If he has to pay, if it was stolen, if he's responsible to that level. Well, Rabbi Yosef was of the opinion that a shemer aveda is considered a shemer sachar. Someone that's watching a lost object. A shemer aveda, shemer means guarding. Guarding a aveda is a lost object. Someone that's guarding the lost object until it gets returned is considered a paid watchman. What payment is he getting? Payment that he's getting is that if a poor man would approach him while he's busy returning this donkey to the owner, he could tell the poor man, I'm busy doing a mitzvah, and when I'm involved in one mitzvah, I don't have to give you the penny that I would have given you the pruta. So because he saves him money, so now it's considered that he's a paid watchman because he's getting benefit. That's Rabbi Yosef's, it gets nicknamed pruta de Rabbi Yosef, the penny, pruta, the small coin of Rabbi Yosef. Rabba argues on Rabbi Yosef. Rabba says that he's a shemer chinam. But what we're saying now is that when Shimon takes a vow, it doesn't tell me who takes the vow. All I know is that Reuven is not allowed to have benefit from Shimon, and Reuven finds Shimon's donkey. While he's returning it to Shimon, he's exempt from giving tzedakah to the poor man. So since Reuven wasn't allowed to get benefit from Shimon, so by returning it, that he would be receiving a benefit that he doesn't have to pay the tzedakah, doesn't have to give tzedakah when the poor man approaches him. So that's considered a benefit. So in other words, according to this opinion, when he's allowed to...
50% off sale that you said the other day, the joke I made, 50%. But you didn't make the pruta that you never gave.
Right.
Because you were but to forgive me.
But
You say
money not
therefore your
but money
property-
not lost is a money
Right.
gain.
Well, that's his saying, but it's not.
According to this opinion, that's what it would work. A penny saved is a penny earned.
Yeah.
Got it from Rabbi Yosef.
That's right. He can still give some of his own money.
No, that's what we're saying, that even though he should be giving his own money to tzedakah, he's exempt from giving his own money to tzedakah because when you're involved in one mitzvah, you're exempt from doing another mitzvah. We learn that from the psukim in Kriya Shema. It says, when you're on the road, there's two versions to this brisa, one in brachos, one in sukkah. But basically it says only when you're on your road doing your own thing are you required to recite Shema. But if you're involved, if you're on the road for a mitzvah, I think, in your walking, something like that. It's only when it's your things, that's when you have to recite Shema. But if it's involved in a mitzvah, shluchi mitzvah, then you don't have to recite the Shema. Like someone that's burying the dead or something that he's involved, he doesn't have to. Okay, that's one opinion. In other words, according to this opinion, there's only one case of our Mishnah where Ruvain takes a vow that he's not going to give benefit to Shimon, and he's allowed to return the Shimon his lost object. But if it would have been the other way, where Shimon took a vow that he's not going to give benefit to Ruvain, then already, oh, that's serious. Ruvain would not be allowed to return the lost object. He'd have to leave it there. Because while he's returning it, Shimon would be giving him a benefit that he would be gaining that pruta. The benefit of returning the lost object seems much higher than the pruta that Ruvain's gaining. But anyway, that's the logic.
Why doesn't Reuven just give the poor man? He says, "Here, bring this to Shimon. Maybe he'll give you a reward." That way he cleans himself from any He doesn't get any benefit. The poor man would probably end up with a reward.
If the poor, sometimes the poor man doesn't want to work to get the money.
Can you do that?
Can you pass over a mitzvah?
No, the Shabbos Aveda specifically, can you pass it on to someone else?
I assume you can make a shliach. Maybe a mitzvah yes shluchai. Okay, V'chadamar, the other one says, we don't know who says what, it's Rabami or Rabasi. Chadamar, afilu nechseb al aveda sern al machzer mahadalei, mishum pruta de Rav Yosef leishchia. The other opinion says that how often is it going to happen that someone is going to show up exactly while he's returning the donkey and he's going to have to pay that coin? So what comes out is something slightly inconsistent here. When it comes to Shimon taking a vow that Reuven can't have benefit from him, we say, he's never going to get benefit from him. Don't worry about it. When it comes to Reuven being a Shemer Sachar, we say, he's a Shemer Sachar, just in case he gets benefit. When the poor man shows up, he's going to be gaining a coin. He's a paid watchman. So for different halachas, we're going to say if this is a real benefit or not. We turn him into a Shemer Sachar, but we don't say that when it comes to Isuri, that someone that's Mudar Hana, someone that takes the vow that he shouldn't get benefit, we don't say that he's really getting the benefit. Yeah, so it's not consistent. Okay, so we have a machlekes here. If we have two possibility of the cases of the Mishnah, or we only have one possibility of the case. According to the second opinion, there are two possibilities. Either Reuven took a vow from Shimon, or Shimon took a vow from Reuven. In both of those cases, Reuven is still allowed to return the lost object. According to the first opinion, there was only one possibility where Reuven wasn't supposed to give benefit to Shimon, and we say that he's allowed to. But if it would be the other way, where Shimon can't give benefit to Reuven, Reuven actually doesn't return the lost object. That's not the case of our Mishnah. Tanan, we're on top of page Lamed Daled. We learned in the Mishnah, I have a little bit of a difficulty reading this Gemara because I'm going to explain it according to the way the Ran explains it. And I'm going to read it according to the way the other one reads it, just because it happens to be in the Gemara. So let's just read it through, but I'm going to jump over to the Ran text, which I don't know how your English is going to translate it. There's several ways of doing this. Bear with me. Tanan, makim shenaitlam la schar, tipal anal hektish. In places where the custom is that if someone returns a lost object, you have to pay the returning, you have to pay the finder. If that's the custom, they have to pay the finder. So, and there was a vow that was taken that he can't give benefit to him. So, what do you do with that fee? The fee goes to hektish. Hektish means it's just given to the base of English. Now, the simple case over here would be like this.
How do you know that there's a vow?
If there's a vow, that's what we're talking about. In the case where there's a vow, the normal case would be like this. The way we explained it when we learned the Mishnah went like this. Reuven finds the object and he wants to return it to Shimon. When he reaches Shimon, Shimon says, "Oh, let me pay you." Now Reuven doesn't want to take the money. So now Reuven is now giving benefit to Shimon by not taking the money. Reuven feels that taking the money would be degrading for him. So he says, "Shimon, you keep the money." By saying you keep the money by not paying, penny saved is a penny earned. So now Shimon now just benefited from Reuven. Now, by returning the lost object, we said that Shimon did not benefit from Reuven because that was Shimon's object anyway. So that was all Reuven did was made sure that it didn't get ruined. For some reason over there, we don't say a penny saved is a penny earned. We just say that returning it was fine. But now, when he doesn't take the money, so now he's actually giving Shimon money by not taking it.
Yeah, he's getting benefit.
He's getting benefit from, because Shimon should have paid him. Reuven says, "Don't pay me." So what does Shimon do with that money? He's makdash it. Tzedakah, hektish.
In the Midwest, snowstorms, people would dig each other out. And then the guy came from outside and he said, "Let me tip you because you helped get me out of the ditch." No, sorry, we don't take it. Is that the case?
Something like that, yeah.
Very common.
Now that I want to ask you some question. Nowadays, most people, unless they're dire in need of money, usually will say, "No, it's okay, give it to charity." This is the origin, the chance of that. Giving it to hectares, because that's a common thing to say, give it to tzedakah.
Right. Maybe over here it's more of an insult if you say give it to tzedakah, because why can't he keep it? It must be that you're in such a fight with him that you told him that he can't have benefit from you. Otherwise, you'd say keep it. Over here he can't keep it, right? They're in there's some reason that they took this vow. There's something's going on. Okay. Actually, let me read it the way it's in the print in the Ran. Do you have a bold letters in the Ran? I'll read it like. We'll read till the end and then we'll stop. We'll explain it. Bishlem Lamanda Mishnechsi Master Sunal Balaveda. Aval the Balaveda Sunal Master Lemahader. Heine Diktani Makam, Schneitel Laskar Tipulan all hectish. Alamanda Marfil Nix Balaveda Sunal Master Nami Mahader. My Tipulan all hectish. The way the Ran explains this is that if there's only one case to the Mishnah, that case is when Reuven says that Shimon can't have benefit from Reuven. Say that Reuven is still allowed to return the lost object, and if there's a place where they give a fee to the if they give a reward to the finder, so that reward goes to hectares. That's the way we explain it. But if there's two cases in the Mishnah, one case is where Reuven is not allowed to give benefit to Shimon. The other case is where Shimon is not allowed to give benefit to Reuven. So if Shimon is not allowed to give benefit to Reuven, so what do you mean that people are not in places where you give a finder's fee, that the reward that fee goes to hektish? What's going on over here? Now, Ran has his interpretation and he has his teacher's interpretation. So his teacher's interpretation is like this. if Shimon's not allowed to give benefit to Reuven, okay, that's what we're talking about. The loser, the one that lost the object, is not allowed to give benefit to Reuven. That's another case, a valid case of the Mishnah. Okay, so Reuven has an object, and the Reuven finds the object, the donkey, let's say, it returns it to Shimon. And we're talking about that even though the benefit that Reuven is getting by returning it, that he doesn't have to pay the poor man that approaches him while he's returning it. We say that that's not considered a benefit because that's probably not going to happen. But when he does reach Shimon, now Shimon is supposed to give him money. Shimon is not allowed to give him money. So, according to the teachers of the Ran, said, so what's the problem? Why do you have to give it to Hekdesh? Keep it. He's not allowed to give. It's not that Reuven wasn't allowed to give Shimon money. Shimon wasn't allowed to give Reuven money. So keep it. So don't pay. So sorry, I'm not paying you. I can't pay you. There's a vow. Let him keep it. That's the teachers of the Ran. Calls this Rabbi Say. That's what he heard from. Where did he say that? Kach Pisher Rabbi Say. Ran himself has a nice pshat. Ran says if Reuven is not allowed to get benefit from Shimon, but he returned the lost object, and so it means Shimon's not allowed to pay him, right? This is not true.
You still have to give the lost object.
Yeah. He says that Shimon, you're telling me that Shimon's not allowed to pay him. Why can't Shimon pay him? You go to the store, we said the whole time that if the price is not higher or lower, all of these things, or maybe sometimes the same, the price, we said that if you're not gaining anything by this, so you're allowed to pay for an item. You're allowed to shop in the store, even though, so why can't he just pay him? He's not paying him more. I know he's not supposed to give him benefit, but he's only paying him for returning the object, which that was allowed. That was the actually effort that he put in. So according to the Ran, he's actually allowed to pay. The Gemara's question here is, what do you mean you have to go to Hekdesh? Pay him. The teachers of the Ran say keep it. The Ran says let him pay him also. There's no problem with paying. Okay. Gemara answers this. In other words, the question was if, according, we don't even know who the question's on, but on the opinion that says that there's two cases to the Mishnah, whether Reuven is not allowed to give benefit to Shimon, Reuven is the finder, right? He's not allowed to give, that was the original case. Or if even if Shimon is not allowed to give benefit to Reuven, what comes out now is that we have a question because the second case doesn't fit with the end of the Mishnah, where if there's supposed to be a finder's fee, that it has to go to Hekdesh, that case doesn't fit if Shimon is not allowed to give benefit to Reuven. So Gemara says, very simple answer. Gemara says, yeah, the end of the Mishnah doesn't need to fit with every case of the beginning of the Mishnah. It fits with one of the cases of the Mishnah. As in the beginning of the Mishnah, in the Reisha, we had several scenarios, several possibilities. And in the Sefer, you have one possibility. And in that possibility, we're saying that you have to go to what would be that possibility? What was the scenario of the Sefer? Where Reuven took a vow not to give any benefit to Shimon. Say so when he tells him not to pay me, he's giving benefit to Shimon, so that money has to go there. All right.
Ask a question.
Yeah.
We have a general principle that whenever there's a contradiction or apparent contradiction, you try to resolve it so that they both work. Isn't there a contradiction between saying someone by taking a vow absolves himself from the ability to compensate somebody for lost wages for Hashavas Aveda and the mitzvah of Hashavas Aveda? It's
Right.
not really a finder's fee.
Right.
If he lost an hour's worth of work and he makes $10 an hour and he returns something with $10 million, he still just gets $10.
Right.
But isn't this a contradiction with the whole Hashavas Aveda? How can someone do that by taking a vow on his own?
Yeah. So regarding the finder's fee, regarding the finder's fee, so far, I mean, the way either we learn like the Ran or we learn like the or his teachers. So far, the mitzvah of Hashavas Aveda is still there.
You just can't get compensated.
Just either
can't.
according to the teachers, he doesn't get compensated, or according to the Ran, he gets compensated also.
But the whole idea of
But the mitzvah of
The
Hashavas
finder's
Aveda
fee.
is still there.
whole idea of the finder's fee, I think, is rabbinic, and is to encourage people to perform the mitzvah.
Right.
So he's uprooting really the rabbinic mitzvah.
Uprooting by taking the vow, there's a possibility that the person doesn't want to take the finder's fee. Problem is, if he doesn't want to take it, then he would be giving in the first case, if he doesn't want to take it, then he's giving benefit to them, which he wasn't supposed to give benefit. Okay, so what do we do with that money? Second case is the person can't give it possibly because he took a vow that he's not going to give benefit to the finder. So we're saying either, okay, so don't give it, the finder still returns it and don't give it, or we're saying that he should give it anyway because there's not a real benefit there. So it's not interfering with the Hashavas Aveda.
Well, yeah, but we learned if someone takes a vow, he's not going to put on tefillin. It's nothing. If you can't take a vow, you're not going to.
You can't take an oath, right?
You can't take an oath.
Right.
And you see what I'm saying? Seems to me this is very similar to that.
Yeah, it turns out that there's so far, we didn't really have anything that interfered with the mitzvah, except according to the opinion that says of Pruta de Rabbi Yosef is going to interfere with the mitzvah. We don't want you to, if you're going to get that benefit of not having to give tzedakah, that would interfere with the mitzvah of Hashavas Aveda.
I thought it was good.
It's a good question.
I was wondering, they said about the $10 an hour. If he gets paid $10 an hour, then that's what the finance fee that they give him. Like that's okay.
Yes.
He's not being benefited.
Right. That's what we're saying here, because he's not benefiting from that. That's what he would have made anyway. Right. Okay, now there are those that learn this a little bit different. The machlekes, they learn different. They learn everything here different. You'll understand it already, but it's still it's sort of the opposite. Pligiba, Rabami, Rabasi. There's a machlekes between Rabami and Rabasi, like we said, except that the machlekes is going to be different. One says that the case of the Mishnah was when Shimon says that I'm not going to give any benefit to Reuven from my property. Now Reuven finds his donkey. So when he returns it, we say, don't worry, you're allowed to return it, because even though you're getting a benefit from Shimon by returning this donkey, that you don't have to give tzedakah to the poor man that sees you along the way, but don't worry about that because that's l'shchia. Okay. But if Reuven is not allowed to give benefit to Shimon, then he won't be allowed to return the lost object. Why not? Because returning a lost object is a big benefit. Yeah, it's exactly the opposite. This has an interesting logic to it. I mean, because returning the lost object, even though Reuven isn't giving Shimon anything from that's Reuven's own, but the fact is he is returning to him something that could have gotten ruined out there or could have gotten lost. He's giving benefit to Shimon. So we would say that Reuven is not allowed to do that. In other words, in the case that we were discussing the whole time, according to this opinion, you're not allowed to return the lost object. If Reuven's not allowed to give benefit to Shimon, Reuven can't return it because he's giving Shimon that benefit. So what did the Mishnah mean you are allowed to? That was talking about when Shimon wasn't allowed to give benefit to Reuven, and you would have thought maybe that Reuven's getting a benefit that he doesn't have to give the tzedakah. We say that's not considered a benefit. That's the first opinion there. The other opinion says, even if Reuven is not allowed to give Shimon benefit, but it's still mutter. Because when he returns something, he's not returning anything from Reuven's own property, he's returning Shimon's property to Shimon. So Reuven isn't giving Shimon benefit, just giving him stuff that's his own donkey. Okay. We switch the machlekes around, exactly the opposite. We learned in the Mishnah. In places where there's a reward, so that reward goes to hektish. If we say that there's two cases in the Mishnah, even if Reuven is not allowed to give benefit to Shimon, so but what will we say now? If there's two cases in the Mishnah, at the beginning of the Mishnah, there's two cases where Reuven's not allowed to give benefit to Shimon. Shimon's not allowed to give benefit. We accept both of those cases as valid. So then, which case will the Sefer be talking about? Where Reuven's not allowed to give benefit to Shimon. Shimon wants to give Reuven the finder's fee. Reuven says, I'm not taking it. That's embarrassing for me to take a fee for returning a lost object, which means he just gave Shimon that money, a money saved, penny saved, a pruta saved, a seller over here. It's actually a seller. Seller saved, there's a seller earned. So therefore he gives it to Hektish. Fine. I know the Mataretz Makim. We say that there's a place. It will be able to explain Makim. Makim means in places where you give that fee. But according to the first opinion that says that if Reuven is not allowed to give Shimon benefit, then that's not the case of the Mishnah. He's not allowed to return it in that case. So what's the case of the Mishnah where Shimon is not allowed to give Reuven benefit? That's the case of the Mishnah. So what is the end of the Mishnah saying? That in cases where he's supposed to give a fee, the whole Mishnah is talking about where Shimon's not supposed to give Reuven benefit. Fine. So Reuven returns Shimon's object. So far, no benefit because we said that Pruta de Rabbi Yosef was not considered a benefit. Okay. So now Shimon wants to give Reuven the finder's fee. He's not allowed to give him benefit. So we have either the option of the Ran, either pay it anyway, because that's not considered a benefit, because Reuven isn't really gaining, or the Ran's teachers that say, okay, so keep it, don't worry about it. But no one is going to say that you have to give it to Hektish. The Mishnah doesn't fit according to that opinion.
So what does that mean?
Well, Haina de Mataretz Makim means we'll be able to explain. Over here, Mataretz means we'll be able to explain the scenario of Makim shenaisnim. What was the expression? Makim shenaitlin aleh aschar. That's like the code word for. We'll be able to explain the case of places where you give the fee to the finder. We'll be able to explain that. But over here, in this case, how could we explain the case of Makim? There is no case of Makim. There is no case of giving the finder's fee, where it would have to go to Hektish.
Then we say,
Oh, you have Hainu over there? I have at the end Heichem Mataretz Makim. Because you have the gears are switched there.
I can say Makim is Hashem, so Hashem has the I'm sorry, I was reading on it.
Remember that this Bacher went to a Hasidic yeshiva. He left his literary yeshiva, went to a Hasidic yeshiva. So he comes back, he sees his Rosh Yeshiva. So Yeshiva says, why did you leave? He said, I learned how to read minds. You know the story? I learned how to read minds. So he said, okay, yeah, sure. Let's try it out. I'm going to think about something and tell me what I'm thinking. It's okay, go ahead. So pauses. Says, okay, what was I thinking? You were thinking that Hashem is everywhere. Shivisi Hashem lenegdi samid. He says, no, that wasn't what I was thinking. He says, oh, that's why I left. I'm saying because you're putting Hashem into every piece.
Terrible.
That's terrible.
I have another terrible one. You had, you had, what was the other one about you find finder's fee? What was that he called? A penny on. Right? That's another one. It goes like this. Finders, keepers, losers, weepers.
Right.
That's the opposite.
Right.
No problem.
Right. That's the opposite of the whole parak of
Of
Elam
either
Mitzias.
issue, of either issue.
Right. Okay, Amar Rava.
Okay.
Turn the page. Amar Rava. Haisilafan of Kikar Shel Hefker. Person has in front of him a loaf of bread that doesn't belong to him, doesn't belong to anyone. It's just sitting there.
Tax spread.
Okay. So the example. It belongs to the Hefker, it's ownerless. But Amar, and he says, Kikar Zu Hektish. That item is hektish. Now it's not his yet, but nevertheless, for some reason, he was allowed to make it hektish. Usually something that's not in your possession, you can't make hektish. Over here, he was the closest person to it. He was within 4 amas of it. There's some way that he's allowed to make it hektish. Okay, so he makes it hektish. Not la'laichla, but then he takes it to eat it.
Oh.
So the rule is ma lafikula. He violates the rule of Me'ilah. Me'ilah is having personal benefit from something that belongs to Hektish, and he has to pay the value of the entire loaf of bread. The Ran points out that if the item would have been his, we came up with a complicated case here. The item wasn't his. He somehow makes it Hektish because it's within 4 cubits of it. And then he takes it to eat. If the item would have been his the whole time, and he took it to eat, he makes his own item hektish, and then he takes it to eat, then he would not have violated Me'ilah. He said, because then he becomes a gizbar. If you have your own things that belong to, that you've made them into hektish, until you drop them off at the Beis Hamikdash, you're the caretaker of that. So if you take it to eat, until you eat it, it's just in your wall. It's just your own. You're just still watching it. So whatever you move it around your house is not considered that you've taken it. Over here, because it wasn't in your possession ever, it was always hefker, it was always ownerless. You made it hektish, and now you're taking it to eat it. Even before you ate it, you already violated the laws of Me'ilah. Leirisha Levana, but if he says that he's taking it because he wants his children to inherit it, then he didn't get a full benefit from this. He only got benefit that the children will be happy, that the father cares about them, and he wants to give them this loaf of bread. So the benefit from that is that the children feel that there was some sort of favor that was being done here. So he has to pay hektish for that favor, that amount, which is it's called tevas hana, that he would have given it to the children. So that benefit, that's what he has to pay to hektish. Why this comes in, the commentaries are discussing. What does Rabbi have to do with our Gemara? It really has nothing to do with anything. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry.
This reminded me of the question that I had about the previous. Like, if the person that lost an item said that he's not going to have benefit from the finder, and the finder brings him the donkey, can he like donate the amount that the donkey's worth and still get the donkey back?
So there we said there was one opinion that said that he wasn't allowed to take the donkey back from him because he wasn't allowed to get benefit. But that opinion we said was as a question on it. So we didn't end up with that opinion. Okay. Rav Chia bar Rav asked Rav a question. Hikari alecha. My loaf of bread is forbidden to you. Now the emphasis here is my loaf of bread. The possessive, my loaf of bread. But then he gives it to him as a gift. Mahos, what's it in? Kikari amalai, my loaf of bread is what he said. So it was only prohibited to him when it was his. He said, my loaf of bread is forbidden to you. He gave it to him. It's not his anymore. He said, My loaf of bread is forbidden to you. Emphasis is over here would be on the you. This loaf of bread is forbidden to him. He gave it to him, it's forbidden. So is it only forbidden while it's his? Or is it forbidden even when he gives it to him? That's Reb Chia bar Rav and asked Rava. Armalei, Rava responds, Shita, it's obvious. It's awesome. Obviously, even if he gives it to him as a gift, it's still prohibited. Why? Okay, now I'm reading this. This is very different. If this would be a different Masechta, it would not fit. But the way it's explained over here by the Ran, the words are different. The meaning of words are slightly different. The word Ella, the Ran switches to the Eloi. If you don't say that it's forbidden when he gives it to him, so Kikari Alecha Lafu Kemai. So what is the meaning of that vow? There's no vow. He says, my loaf of bread is forbidden to you. Then as soon as he starts eating it, it's already his and it's never forbidden. So obviously what he meant was that it should be forbidden when he gives it to him. Lav lafuki di ganva mine mignav. Would you say that the only way that it would be forbidden was that if he would steal it? Somehow, I guess what the Gemara means to say is that if he would steal it, then it would still be part of the original owner's possession, and then it would still be his. And you think that's what he meant? Such an obscure case of when he's stealing it to eat, and that's when it would be prohibited. Amalei says no. Lafuki diazmne Allah. Why are you saying that it must mean that he's giving him the entire loaf, and that's when it's going to be prohibited? Why are you saying that that's the only case? I have a simple case where he says, my loaf of bread is forbidden to you. What he means is that if he was going to invite him over to the house to eat, so he'd be serving him some of his loaf at his house. So it's still considered his. It's not that I'm giving it to you here, take it home. But he means when it's his at his house, that would be a problem. Asmane means he invites. Okay, let's go a little further. Gonna need the English because there's a problem over here with just explaining how this works. Esvei. I'll read it in here. So now the notes I've covered. This Gemara we've covered. Now, Esvei. No, you have to add words in over here. Amalai hashileni parascha. He said, lend me your cow. Someone says to him, lend me your cow. And the person tells him back, Amalai kainim parashani kanala. Okay. He says, every cow that I purchased, other than this one, is kainim to you. Every cow that I purchased, other than this one, which I need, is kainim to you. So all my other cows is forbidden, and this one I'm not lending either. That's what it sounds like.
He's doing like all of it except for one that he bought.
Nechs. Kainam para shani kana. Every cow that I purchased, other than this one, which I need, is kainam for you. Let's go next case. Similar case.
Oh, so you're saying this is the only cow I own. I can't lend you this. Everything else I own.
Oh, that's what he's saying. Yeah, this is the only cow that I have. That's what he means
I
to
can't
say.
lend you my only two.
Okay. Or if he says, my property is forbidden to you, im yeshli parel azu, if I have any other cows. Which means he's saying that he doesn't have any other cows. And if I do, then everything is forbidden to you. Okay, next case. Same story, but it's just instead of a cow, it's Hashileni kardumcha, lend me your spade. Amalai. What is that? Kainam kardam sheyeshli she'ani kanoi. He says every spade that I have purchased is kainam for you. Or nachasai alai im yeshli kardam elazeh. my property is forbidden to me if I have a spade other than this one. Now, it turns out that he actually does have others. So, which means that the vow should take effect. So, b'chayav, if the person is still alive, then it's usher. He took a vow that he wasn't going to have benefit from it. If the person died or he gave it to as a gift to someone else, then it would be permissible. Now, what just happened here is he said, my possessions are prohibited to you. Apparently, it's only prohibited while it's still his. So, and once he dies or was given to someone else, so then it's not prohibited anymore. So this contradicts what Rava answered, that when he takes a vow, when he says that he has the possessive ending, kikari, my loaf, Rava said that didn't matter, even if it was given to him. So, Ravacha Breder Ravika answers, we're talking about that he didn't give it to him directly. It was given to him through someone else. In other words, it changed hands a second time. So what happens if it changed hands the second time?
So there wasn't.
So that's why it wasn't a direct violation of the vow of giving it directly, because if it's his directly to the person that he took the vow from, then that would be a violation. But because it wasn't his at the time when it went to him, so it doesn't have the violation.
Amar Ravashi, police, you can't give me a ticket. It's not my car. It's still.
Ravashi Dekanami, Ravashi says that this is also meduyak, this is also precise. If you look at the wording, nitnalai means that it was given to him. Doesn't say, we added in the yud here, but actually, if you look at it, it says it's hard to read. It could be read shenitnalai, that it was given to him, not that he gave it to him. If he gave it to him, that would be a problem. It was given to him, like Tani Shanaslai. It doesn't say that it was given to him. Okay, let's leave it over here. Okay. Have a good day. Have a good day, everyone.